Tonight on the MTN 430 News, unclaimed and unsettled.
We had husbands and wives where family members had sat on shelves. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 10 to 20 years.
The remains of 27 people are finally laid to rest. But of those sitting on funeral home shelves, they were there for years. We'll explain how. And it's been 80 years, but we don't forget the D-Day operation of June 6, 1944. Brought together troops from sea, land, and air. Now we remember it as the largest sea invasion in military history. Tonight, we look back. The MTN News starts right now. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Andrea Lutz. Waiting years for a final resting place. That's the story for many families in Yellowstone County without the money or the means to find a loved one a burial place. But today, they gathered at Riverside Cemetery to pay their respects. Our Alina Howder reports.
The cremated remains of 27 people were laid to rest here at Riverside County Cemetery in the Heights. If it weren't for the county, some of these remains would still be sitting on a shelf unclaimed at a funeral home. And the home of the brave.
There's a lot Heather Pearson misses about her Uncle David George.
He would do anything and everything to make sure I'm not homeless or going hungry or anything like that.
David passed away last August, but was never laid to rest, which meant his family has never been able to properly say farewell.
We spent 36 wonderful years together.
But Thursday, that all changed.
Jennifer Pico.
David's remains and the remains of 26 others were finally placed here in the cremation garden at Riverside Cemetery. Some no longer have living family. Others simply could not afford their own funerals.
It means a lot to us because truthfully, there's a lot of people that hit brick walls when it comes to their loved ones or having that closure.
Had the experience not too long ago where some people got into a rental unit and found some cremated remains.
Dennis Pittman, a former county commissioner and funeral director, helped create this program 8 years ago after seeing abandoned remains just sit in the closets of funeral homes.
We had husbands and wives where family members had sat on shelves. I mean, we're talking anywhere from 10 to 20 years.
Joe Aguilar has been the cemetery's groundskeeper since the program started.
Being a Marine and caring for people, to me, just because they passed doesn't mean they weren't a human being at one time.
Aguilar makes sure the cemetery is well taken care of, whether it's mowing the grass or making sure the remains are covered.
That's why I do what I do, to give respect to the fallen as well as the living, the families.
A community effort so that families like Heather Pearson's can find peace.
They're just asleep. We're letting them sleep. They're still with us. And to have such a wonderful day, they wouldn't want it any other way.
80 years ago today that Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy. The invasion led to the defeat of the Nazis 11 months later. President evoking the memory of Allies' United developments.
In Normandy, surviving World War II veterans honored decades after the day that changed the course of history.
Here, on the coast of Normandy, the battle between freedom and tyranny would be joined.
Since Allied forces stormed the beaches in France.
Only the highest courage and determination could avail.
This morning, crowds gathered on the same sands for reenactments, marking D-Day, lauded as the beginning of the end of World War II.
The celebration started when we liberated each town.
It evokes memories of a very special day for me, when I first realized the true horror of war, I suppose.
It could be the last major commemoration for many of the aging few who witnessed the moment that reshaped the world. President Biden is joining more than 24 world leaders for the ceremonies, drawing parallels to the current war between Russia and Ukraine.
Isolationism was not the answer 80 years ago. Hey.
As the world celebrates the victories out of Normandy, a moment of honor for the 9,388 American soldiers under the crosses and stars of David, most who died on D-Day or shortly after. Jared Hill, CBS News.
Heading
heading into the weekend. We still have some warm temperatures, but there are a couple of disturbances which could affect just how warm it gets. We'll break that down for you. And by the time we get to the rain showers, but it's fairly isolated. We'll show you where the best target area, warmest temperatures we've so far this season. We'll talk about all this, the rest of the forecast details coming up in a few minutes.
The city of Billings is eager to tap into its new vandalism deterrent program after more graffiti is turning up on the rims. They say one particular area above 17th Street West was pressure washed several times already in the last couple of weeks, but vandals keep showing up. So the city is offering $500 to anyone who provides information leading up to an arrest of a suspect. Any offender can be charged with a misdemeanor and they must pay the reward money back. You can report that vandalism to the Billings Police Department. June is designated as Pride Month, highlighting the LGBTQ+ community. But the Great Falls Mayor, Corey Reeves, will not proclaim June as Pride Month in the city of Great Falls. Well, Mayor Reeves will not issue that proclamation designating June the month of celebration for those in that community. In a Facebook post, he says the government should never condemn or celebrate who should love who. Those are personal life choices that the government should not interfere with. At Tuesday night's City Commission meeting, Great Falls residents expressed their displeasure with the mayor, stating it highlights hatred, misrepresentation, and dismisses the LGBTQ+ communities in the area.
And if somebody came to the podium and tried to say there are no trout in the Missouri River, or if someone tried to refute a proclamation to celebrate Trout in the Missouri River Week, we would call that person delusional.
Here in Great Falls, there is a young person who believes that they'd be better off dead than trans or gay. I wear my pride because you would have them hide.
Well, Mayor Reeves didn't address the public's concern following that public comment. Former Mayor Bob Kelly proclaimed June as Pride Month during his time in office. In the initial Facebook post, a fellow commissioner showed support with the mayor's decision. An Israeli strike on a school sheltering displaced Palestinians in central Gaza killed at least 33 people, including 23 women and children. Israel's military says a Hamas command was embedded within that school. So it took steps to reduce the risk of civilians, including aerial surveillance. The strike came after the military announced a new offensive at several refugee camps in central regrouped. Former President Trump is back on the campaign trail today from Arizona to California and Nevada. The visits out west mark his first major campaign events since, of course, being convicted in New York City last week. Joe St. George has a closer look at how that verdict 1 week ago has changed the race.
Former President Donald Trump is back on the campaign trail Thursday, 1 week after being convicted of 34 felony counts. So how has Trump's conviction impacted the race for president? Verdict impact number one, change in support. On this front, there have been marginal but slight benefits to President Biden. A YouGov CBS News poll found that 57% of adults think the verdict was correct. An ABC News Ipsos poll found that 50% of adults was accurate. That means large portions of the country agree with the outcome, but that same poll found 25% of independents less likely to vote for Trump. While those numbers are not large, in a close election, any change is significant for President Joe Biden. Kate Monroe is a Republican strategist.
I doubt people are going to switch lanes. People can easily look back in time and realize that they were safer under President Trump and they had a lot more money. And that's at the end of the day what people care about. They don't care about his trials.
Verdict impact number two, money. According to the Trump campaign, in the first 24 hours after the verdict, they raised $53 million in total in the month of May. Trump's campaign and the Republican National Committee raised over $140 million, nearly double the amount they raised in April. Republican National Committee Chairman Michael Whatley spoke Wednesday with Scripps News Milwaukee.
100% of what we're raising right now is going to be led on target. We're going to use it to make sure that we have get out the vote programs, election integrity programs.
And verdict impact number three, Republican retaliation. It's unclear how far this will ultimately go, but since the verdict, Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio funding for some prosecutors like Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg. Jordan Bragg testify in front of Congress. Meanwhile, longtime Trump confidant Steve Bannon told Axios this week that he wants Alvin Bragg jailed. As for former President Trump, more of his thoughts are expected during campaign events in Arizona, California, and Nevada in the coming days. However, he is still limited in what he can say because of a still existing gag order. Joe St. George, Scripps News, Washington.